What's up, everyone? It's Nick again, and I'm back again. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Yeah, look at this right here. I mean, if you're watching my videos, what are you doing not subscribing? But anyways, you see the title of this video. The Clippers blew a 3-1 lead. So there sure is a lot to talk about, and I wanted to react to this yesterday, but I had other things going on, and a lot of other people beat me to it. But I gotta also say something too, because I really want to grow my channel, and this is something that I'm excited about. Well, probably more excited than I should be, because I kind of wanted Lakers-Clippers in the conference finals. That would have been quite a big story, if only that were to happen at the Staples Center. However, as a Lakers fan, the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead, oh, I can't get enough of that. When they were supposed to be the champions this year, and hey, I'll admit, even though I'm a Lakers fan, I'm not biased, I can keep it real, and I felt like the Clippers have way too much talent to not be champions this year. Honestly, I was just happy with the fact that the Lakers would even make it to the conference finals. And you know what, though? I mean, I'm not going to sleep on Denver. We'll talk about that later. But the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead? Ha! Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. Okay, so let's cue the intro. So like I said, I was in the majority, saying that the Clippers will win the finals this year. That's at least what I thought would happen. I was wrong. I can admit that. However, I'm happy. At least I know that the Lakers are still in it to win it, and that they're the last LA team standing, or the last California team standing, as a matter of fact. It's been a long time since we've been able to say that. So games 5 and 6, like I said in the previous video, it was the supporting cast that was just not there for the Clippers. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were there for games 5 and 6, but the supporting cast wasn't. But then game 7, Paul George choking in a game 7. I guess we should really expect that at this point, but Kawhi Leonard, 6 for 22. Two-time finals MVP. 6 for 22. You know, the Clippers were up 2 at halftime, but then the third quarter was when it just went way downhill. Everything just fell apart. They couldn't even score 20 points in either the third or fourth quarters. They couldn't even throw the ball in the ocean. Kawhi and PG, they combined for 5 points in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, 0. Paul George's shot from the corner, where he was pretty open and hit the corner of the backboard. Or how about Lou Williams, that layup that went in and out when he was wide open? How do you even explain this? This is crazy. I mean, it's pretty humorous to me as a Lakers fan, but like, whoa. Defensively though, the Clippers actually weren't that bad. Just Jamal Murray went Super Saiyan. He went back into the first round mode, and he scored 40 for the whole game. 12 of those points came in the fourth quarter, and he was just hitting some really tough shots. You can't really complain about that. But offense, like I said, they couldn't even throw the ball in the ocean. Yo. Now, Doc Rivers, you know, if I were to make this video yesterday, I would have been saying he has to go right now. But actually, I'm starting to ease up on that a little bit. I mean, I kind of do still think he should be fired now after this meltdown. This is the third time in his career that he's blown a 3-1 lead. And 2 of those teams that he blew a 3-1 lead with, they definitely should have won the series, and they didn't. Now, I'm gonna at least say, though, that the Nuggets are a damn good team. They are no one to sleep on. They deserve some credit, too. Jamal Murray is emerging as a star. Nikola Jokic, he's definitely a top 10 player in the NBA. Definitely the best center in the league. It's not even a discussion. Sorry, Sixer fans. And if Anthony Davis now, for the record, I love Anthony Davis, but until he starts playing center consistently, it's not even a conversation. But even then, just Jokic's playmaking abilities, that'll still give him a huge upper hand, even though Anthony Davis sure is a lot more athletic. But Doc Rivers, though, the last couple of years when it was post-Lob City and the Clippers were supposed to be rebuilding, but they were really overachieving, I started to digress from calling him overrated, which I strongly felt during the Lob City era when they just couldn't get past the second round when they had that much talent. Now this time, with the amount of talent that they have now, and still the fact that they blew a 3-1 lead, him not making adjustments when the team was doing really bad. I mean, sure, you shouldn't blame all of this on Doc Rivers. It's not his fault that his guys couldn't hit wide open shots, and yes, Denver played really well. You got to give them credit. However, when you're not making adjustments, when the whole team is struggling, that's on you, coach. You have to make adjustments. And going back to my last video about how Frank Vogel was constantly making adjustments, yeah, that's what coaches need to do. You have to have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. You always have to adjust. And yeah, Kawhi Leonard may make those tough mid-range shots quite a lot. He's really good at it. But when they're not falling, you have to have a plan B. Nick Nurse was able to do that last year with the Raptors when Kawhi was there, and he was doing amazing. This year without Kawhi, for sure. Without a legit superstar. No, Pascal Siakam's not a legit superstar, in case anyone actually still believes that. All season, the Clippers did rely on some tough contested shots way too much, and honestly, I didn't think that would be such a big deal in the playoffs, and okay, I was wrong. And, well, hey, Game 7, though, they did actually get some good looks that just weren't falling, but still, you have to adjust, and the Clippers were up in all 3 of these games that they lost when they blew this 3-1 lead and blew 16-point leads in back-to-back games. Yeah, Doc Rivers definitely does deserve a lot of blame. A lot. Not all, but a lot. Now, one thing I will give the Clippers credit for is that they seem to all be on the same page with what went wrong, and they can at least acknowledge what was wrong. And I'll at least give them props for that, even though I'm still laughing at them blowing a 3-1 lead. But okay, I'll get a little more serious right now. Kawhi said in the post-game interview that basketball IQ has been a problem for them. I think Paul George also alluded to that, and that's something that Doc Rivers needs to be held accountable for. For his players to not have the basketball IQ that they should have, that to me, I mean, yes, it's kind of a player's problem. Like, yeah, you need to have basketball IQ, but it's also a coach's problem. It's really more both to me. More so in coaching, though. I mean, you can take that for what you will. Let me know if you disagree. And Kawhi also said that they need better chemistry, and they also all agreed that continuity was a problem. Yeah, this is why you don't overdo load management. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, okay, maybe it was their first year together, their first year on the Clippers, but it really wasn't the first year together for much of the Clippers team. Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverley, Ivica Zubac, Landry Shamet, they were all there last year. And Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Patrick Beverley, they were there 2 years ago too. So it's not really their first year together. It's just their first year together with actual superstar talent. And for them to load manage as much as they did, yeah, valuable lesson for everybody. It's one thing to load manage, but the Clippers severely overdid it. No matter how many years you played together, at this point in the season, like even with the COVID-19 situation and having the season completely stopped for a few months, it's really not an excuse to me. My guys, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they've only played together just this season, yet they look like they've played together for years. And I also got to give Frank Vogel some props. Now, yes, Nick Nurse is the worthy coach of the year this year, no question about it, but Frank Vogel has done an exceptional job with the Lakers. I am really happy with the job he's done, and he's continued to do that well in the playoffs. So it's also part of a coaching problem, but also, I mean, it's really everybody from top to bottom that's got to be held accountable. And this is another thing I was wrong about. I thought that the Clippers dogging the regular season like they did wouldn't matter so much in the playoffs, but it definitely backfired. They say they don't have enough chemistry. Yeah, that's why you gotta play as many games together as possible. I mean, yeah, it wasn't until like just before the season shut down that they lost a game with their full squad, and that was to my Lakers, and I was like, oh yes, this is a big statement win. But I still wasn't quite ready to say that the Lakers are the better team. But okay, I can proudly say that, and without any bias also, I can proudly say that the Lakers are the better team, because hey, my Lakers are still playing. The Clippers, they're going home. And yeah, the Clippers have more depth on paper, just they couldn't put it together at the right time. And I was willing to give Montrezl Harrell the benefit of the doubt in the Dallas series, because he hadn't played in several months. He didn't even play in any of the seeding games because, you know, he had some personal issues. He just entered the bubble in game 1 of the Dallas series. So back then, I was able to give him the benefit of the doubt, but eventually, at some point, you gotta get going, and he didn't. And Lou Williams, he played very well against the Warriors last year, so I didn't think he'd be so bad in the playoffs this year. And okay, he didn't do so bad against Dallas, but boy was he terrible against the Nuggets. Oh, wow, was he terrible. Just 10 points per game and shot 35% from the field. As a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year and a very strong candidate this year as well, but you know, his teammate won it this year. 41% true shooting percentage. This is crazy. Here's also something that I have to talk about. I think it's very safe to say that Kawhi Leonard should have stayed in Toronto. I understand wanting to build your brand in LA. I totally get that. Trust me, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Southern California. I grew up in New York, actually. I know, when it comes to building your brand, yes, cities like that are far more attractive. However, I don't think that really would have been a problem in Toronto in the long run. The Raptors get plenty of revenue. They're consistently towards the top of the league in fan attendance. And Toronto's a big city. I mean, sure, it's not LA or New York, but it is a big city. And they could have been a dynasty, honestly, in Toronto. I mean, maybe, but hey, like, they have an elite coach, the coach of the year, in fact, and honestly, they have everything but a superstar, and that's really what made them go home at this point. If they still had Kawhi, they'd be getting ready for Miami right now, and I would be pretty sure of it that they would beat Miami in the conference finals. You had a good thing going there, Kawhi. I don't know why. I mean, actually, I do know why you decided to not keep it going. I know you had your mind made up, but hey, this was a situation where you shouldn't have just made up your mind that early. Now, if you hate cold winters, okay, I can understand that. I went to college in upstate New York, and I understand that was brutal, but in Canada, okay, yeah, I guess that's kind of fair, but still, you had a good thing going in Toronto. You should have stayed. I think so. And I think most people think so too. Now, for what's next for the Clippers? Next season, it's now or never. It took five first-round picks to get Paul George to the Clippers, and a future All-Star in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Do I think he's going to be a superstar? No, I wouldn't go that far, but I do think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will make some All-Star games in the future. And he's still very young too. And they also traded Danilo Gallinari, who we all know is a great shooter, and they could have used him in this series as that stretch four who can really knock down those threes. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have player options after next season, so they could walk out and go somewhere else if this doesn't work out next year. Now, with the amount of money that they're owed, Paul George $37 million, almost 38, and Kawhi Leonard $36 million, find it pretty hard to see them walking away from that kind of money, but they could. Therefore, they have to treat next season like it's now or never. And also, Lou Williams is going to be a free agent after next season, so he could very easily go too, and he was a big key to their success this season, and also big for when they were overachieving the last couple of years, when I was starting to digress from saying Doc Rivers is overrated. And Montrezl Harrell is also a free agent after next season. So really, this was the Clippers' best chance to win the finals, and they blew it. Next season, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are going to be back. The Warriors have a lottery pick, so you know that they're going to be competitive again next year. And also, Denver's going to be better next year, so really, this was the Clippers' best chance. Next season could very well be their last. If they do manage to retain Kawhi and PG, well, let's say they opt out and demand more money. And with Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell free agents, one of them is likely to walk, maybe even both, just to retain PG and Kawhi. So, in hindsight, yeah, the Clippers gave up way too much to get Paul George, but in their defense, they don't make that trade, they don't get Kawhi Leonard. They should run it back next year. I think so. I mean, hey, they should definitely address the fact that they don't have a legit playmaker on their team. That's something the Nuggets have, even in their center in Nikola Jokic. And as a result of not having a great playmaker, that's what made them have to rely on tough shots quite a lot. Nikola Jokic, you have a guy like him on your team, and you can get so many good looks. I mean, yeah, the Clippers did get quite a lot of good looks in Game 7, and they just weren't going in. But the Nuggets, though, they consistently get some really good shots. The Clippers, not so much. And that's been a big part of the Nuggets' success, is that because they have such a great playmaker in their center, and they have guys moving without the ball like they do, yeah, this is a big key for their success. And also, I think that a big man who can shoot would also really help. I mean, Marcus Morris, yeah, he's a stretch 4 in today's game. He shot the 3 really well in New York, but oh no, he didn't with the Clippers. So yeah, I think that a big man that can shoot would be really helpful. Who though? Who's available? Yeah, honestly, you can comment who the Clippers should go after in the comments if you'd like to. We can have a discussion, and in fact, that'll help this channel grow. Now, yes, I do think that the Celtics Heat series is going to be a classic, and we already saw an epic Game 1. However, the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead is much more fun to talk about, so that's why I had to make the video on that. But as the conference finals resume, yeah, I'll talk about that eventually. But for now, the Clippers blowing a 3-1 lead was exactly what I had to talk about. So that's the end of this video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you next time.